Yes, hello. I'm here with LL, and we're going to read the Grimm brothers story, The Seven Ravens, and discuss it. But first, we'll do a little bit of a relaxing contemplation. So I invite the listener to do maybe a little exercise snack if you feel like it. Pause the video and then go ahead and follow along with us if you'd like. But if you want to skip it, go ahead in the chapters to the story. But if you're still here, please go ahead and find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down, and gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, feeling your belly expand, and slowly exhale through your mouth. And continue this gentle rhythm, allowing your body to relax with each breath. Feel your feet relaxing, your ankles, your lower legs, your knees, your upper legs, stomach, your back, shoulders, arms, neck, face, head, noticing any tension and letting it go. Now, this is called finding your oasis. Now, bring to mind a place that feels completely peaceful and safe for you. It could be a real place or an imagined one. Visualize this space. What do you see? The colors, the textures, light filtering through trees or sparkling on water. What do you hear? Birds, waves, gentle breezes, or perhaps silence. What smells are present? Fresh flowers, salty air, pine, or earthly scents. How does it feel on your skin? Warm sun, cool shade, a gentle breeze. Perhaps there's a taste. or maybe a feeling of deep calm. Spend a few moments just being in your oasis, absorbing its soothing qualities. Now for releasing and renewal. Notice the water in your oasis, perhaps a cool stream or calm lake. As you breathe, imagine any worries, doubts, or fears leaving your body, floating away on the water or being carried by the wind. Feel lighter, refreshed, and renewed. Now, gratitude and return. Thank your oasis for offering this space of peace and healing. Know that this place is always with you, accessible whenever you need it. Gently bring your awareness back to your body, feeling grounded and calm. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes, carrying this serenity with you. Okay. Well, LL, do you feel a little more relaxed?
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and read this Grimm brothers story, The Seven Ravens. There was once a man who had 7 sons, but never a daughter, however much he wished for one. At last, however, he had a daughter. His joy was great, but the child was small and delicate, and on account of its weakness, it was to be christened at home. The father sent one of his sons in haste to the spring to fetch some water. The other 6 ran with him, and because each of them wanted to be the first to draw the water, between them the pitcher fell into the brook. There they stood and didn't know what to do, and not one of them ventured to go home. As they did not come back, their father became impatient and said, "Perhaps the young rascals are playing about and have forgotten it altogether." He became anxious lest his little girl should die unbaptized, and in hot vexation he cried, "I wish the youngsters would all turn into ravens." Scarcely were the words uttered when he heard a whirring in the air above his head, and looking upwards, he saw 7 coal black ravens flying away. The parents could not undo the spell, and were very sad about the loss of their 7 sons. But they consoled themselves in some measure with their dear little daughter, who soon became strong and every day more beautiful. For a long time she was unaware she had had any brothers, for her parents took care not to mention it. However, one day by chance, she heard some people saying about her, "Oh, yes, the girl's pretty enough. but you know she is really to blame for the misfortune to her seven brothers. Then she became very sad and went to her father and mother and asked if she had ever had any brothers and what had become of them. The parents could no longer conceal the secret. They said, however, that what had happened was by the decree of heaven, and that her birth was merely the innocent occasion. But the little girl could not get the matter off her conscience for a single day, and thought that she was bound to release her brothers again. She had no peace or quiet until she had secretly set out, and had gone forth into the wide world to trace her brothers, wherever they might be, and to free them, lest let it cost what it might. She took nothing with her but a little ring as a remembrance of her parents, a loaf of bread against hunger, a pitcher of water against thirst, and a little chair in case of fatigue. She kept ever going on and on until she came to the end of the world. Then she came to the sun, but it was hot and terrible, and it devoured little children. She ran hastily away to the moon, but it was too cold, and moreover dismal and dreary. And when the child was looking at it, it said, I smell man's flesh. Then she quickly made off and came to the stars, and they were kind and good, and everyone sat on his own special seat. But the morning star stood up and gave her a little bone and said, Unless you have this bone, you cannot open the glass mountain, and in the glass mountain are your brothers. The girl took the bone and wrapped it up carefully in a little kerchief, and went on again until she came to the glass mountain. The gate was closed, and she meant to get out the little bone, but when she undid the kerchief, it was empty, and she had lost the good star's present. How now was she to set to work? She was determined to rescue her brothers, but had no key to open the glass mountain. The good little sister took a knife and cut off her own tiny finger, fitted it into the keyhole, and succeeded in opening the lock. When she had entered, she met a dwarf, who said, My child, what are you looking for? I'm looking for my brothers, the seven ravens, she answered. The dwarf said, My masters, the ravens, are not at home, but if you like to wait until they come, please to walk in. Thereupon the dwarf brought in the raven's supper on seven little plates and in seven little cups, and the little sister ate a crumb or two from each of the little plates and took a sip from each of the little cups, but she let the ring she had brought with her fall into the last little cup. All at once a whirring and a cry were heard in the air. Then the dwarf said, Now, my masters, the ravens, are coming home. Then they came in and wanted to eat and drink, and began to look about for their little plates and cups. But they said one to another, Hello, who has been eating off my plate? Who has been drinking out of my cup? There has been some human mouth here. And when the seventh drank to the bottom of his cup, the ring rolled up against his lips. He looked at it and recognized it as a ring belonging to his father and mother, and said, God grant that our sister may be here, and that we may be delivered. As the maiden was standing behind the door listening, she heard the wish and came forward, and then all the ravens got back their human form again. And they embraced and kissed one another and went joyfully home. So, what are your first impressions of this story?
Mm. Well, like I just got that sacrifice seemed to be a big theme of the story. Um, because with the beginning, the father he unintentionally sacrifices all of his sons to save the daughter, and then later in the story, the daughter seems to kind of pay that back by sacrificing her finger to
Yeah,
save them from being the spell they're under of being ravens.
yeah. Yeah, sacrifices throughout this story, right? Yeah, I hadn't thought of how uh at the beginning of the story when he wishes for his sons to what does he wish for them to become ravens?
Hmm.
Yeah, that is like a sacrifice, and it is kind of it's funny that after the sons become ravens, which is like they're being sacrificed to death in a way, right? They become ravens, they fly off to this impossible to get to realm, this glass mountain. It's kind of like they're in the underworld, in
Hmm.
Hades or something. And after that, the previously frail, delicate daughter of the man that he had wished for uh, grows up strong now. So
Hmm.
there's this idea that when you sacrifice something, like it brings you health or uh, some kind of strength. But yeah, you had mentioned to me off air that we had talked about how in many of these stories there is a kind of consciousness of there being a previous kind of pagan stories and worldview, and then a Christian kind of overlay or superiority
Hmm.
to that. And so you said when the little girl goes off to search for her brothers, when she comes to the sun and the moon, they both are sort of devouring of humans, children and things.
Hmm.
And that reminded you of older pagan traditions of human sacrifice.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
when she goes to the stars and she ends up only having to sacrifice her little finger. That is kind of perhaps the sort of progression of Christian sacrifice where because for Christians Christ was put up as a sacrifice for all of humanity, then we no longer need to sacrifice our flesh, or we only need to sort of give up our spirit and faith. And so maybe that little finger is
Hmm.
of the little girls is kind of symbolic of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also like when she talks to the stars and the moons, like they want to take something from her. They want to take her flesh, but the stars they give her the bone. So um yeah, so they don't need to take anything from her
Yeah.
initially until she loses the bone and has to sacrifice the finger. But
Yeah.
um yeah, they give her the bone, and it kind of reminds me how in Christianity, like uh, it's like you're given the body of Christ as kind of a gift for your soul and stuff. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I've never thought of communion that way. By the way, you said she first goes to the star and the moon. I mean, you meant the sun and the moon, and then later she
yeah,
goes to the sort of council of the stars.
yeah, the stars, yeah.
So why do you think she loses the bone or the chicken bone that the stars give her?
Mm. Yeah, actually, it's a mystery to me. Maybe it was meant to be lost. I'm thinking. Uh,
I mean,
Maybe it might have been a test for her or some sorts to see how much if she would be willing to give up part of herself for her
yeah,
brothers.
yeah, it does end up being a test whether it was intentional or not.
Mm,
Yeah. There may be a sense of just how the gift from the stars is maybe a little bit too much for a human on a long journey to really be able to hold. And they
mm,
still end up having to sacrifice some of themselves, just like
mm,
any of us would on any kind of journey, metaphorical or not. You're going to end up maybe being worn down, and you're at
mm,
least going to lose time, which her journey to the end of the world and the sun, the moon, and the stars can be seen as some kind of journey through time anyway.
mhm. Yeah. And I think about the the object being like a chicken stick. Like, it just makes me think that that living being has already given all of itself. It's dead already. It can't really offer more. So yeah, maybe she's just supposed to, as a kind of living person, kind of offer herself in some way.
But you're saying that the stars gave her a piece of chicken bone, but it was not actually sufficient so that
Um,
for her to get
yeah,
into the glass
maybe.
mountain.
Yeah, maybe, or like it wasn't enough, and but like I think said, maybe, and maybe the stars were actually testing her, um,
Yeah.
in a way. So
Or I'm almost thinking maybe
yeah.
they're giving her enough. Basically, what they give her allows her into the glass mountain. It's
Hmm.
not that she can actually use it, but she is taught by it. So when she
Hmm.
opens the handkerchief or the kerchief that had contained the chicken bone and it's not there anymore, um, she still has the memory of what was there.
Hmm.
She still learned something from the stars, which makes sense from a more abstract and sort of celestial, orderly God rather than a more bodily kind of anthropomorphic God like in
Hmm.
earlier kind of times. Um, yeah, she knows what to do. And then she has a chance to show her virtue, I guess, or to test her virtue, like you're kind of saying, by
Hmm.
cutting off her finger to get into the glass mountain. That's an interesting image. That's in another story I've done with Ian, called The King's Bodyguard, also by Grimm's, where this handsomest soldier of the king, in order to sort of be allowed to marry this nobleman's daughter, he has to go to the sort of a very long way away on a 6 year journey to a dragon's house. And this dragon lives on a glass mountain.
Hmm.
That's again a kind of end a journey. It's an interesting image, you know. I mean, do you have any thoughts about that image?
Hmm.
It seems kind of unnatural, inaccessible. But anyway, yeah, she has to go to
Hmm.
the glass mountain, which we posited is in some ways like an underworld where these
Hmm.
uh, brothers come ravens, have been cursed to live. And then, yeah, she goes there, and the dwarf kind of sets out some food, and she tries each of the ravens' food and drink, just a crumb from each. And then she drops her ring in the last one. It's interesting that she has to eat there. I mean, that seems like a kind of symbolic meal, like a ritual kind of thing.
Hmm.
Makes me think of how what is in the Greek myth of Persephone and Hades, where if she eats anything in the underworld, she has to stay there. I think that's Hades'
Hmm.
kind of bargain, isn't it?
Yeah, so like when she ate the pomegranate, like one seed equaled 1 month in the
Yeah,
underworld.
she ate six of them.
Hmm.
So she had to stay down there 6 months of the year, and that's why we have winter. Yeah, but anyway, this girl in this story, she eats something when she gets to Glass Mountain, but she doesn't have to stay there. But then again, she has the ring that is again a remembrance and bringing back to home. Yeah, in many stories, there's a when someone goes on a journey, they have a ring that will
Hmm.
allow them to go back home. I think a ring, it's a circle. It symbolizes often a promise, a bind, you know. And of course, there's a moral logic to many of these stories where uh, action can happen at a distance based on sort of words that were said or moral kind of emotions. You know, this is a sort of the magical worldview, right? Where you say a wish like the father did at the beginning of this story, and reality changes. Just going back a little bit to the sort of symbolism of the sun and the moon and the stars that she goes to, I was thinking, I mentioned to this to you off air that the uh, the stars seem to. It's interesting that there's more than one of them, but I guess then again, that's just how they exist in real life. But we both sort of thought that they kind of symbolize some kind of celestial order,
Mhm.
which is again less of a sort of bodily, anthropomorphic, human-like God, and more of something like order, beauty, mathematics, universal truth, things like that. And it's interesting that the story mentions each of the stars had its own seat, and the daughter had actually brought one of the few things that she brought on her journey was a seat. So I think, you had said this seems kind of like civilization, um, all those things as opposed to sort of the disorder uh, and wild energy maybe of earlier paganism in the Christian worldview,
Mhm.
or what I had pointed out as the brothers kind of, you know, competition, disorderliness, not knowing what to do, confusion kind of thing at the beginning of the story when they had gotten their bucket for the christening of their newly born uh, sister, and but they had they had kind of been disorder and they lost the bucket in the river, and the bucket of course symbolizes a way to take up the water of life and contain it and to transport it and to make it useful for human beings, and in this case the ultimate usefulness of the salvation of the daughter. But just getting back to the theme of sacrifice, I think you'd pointed out that the brothers were in a way, inadvertently, sacrificed for their youngest sister. And then
Mhm.
later, she in turn sacrifices, time, effort, takes risk, but also sacrifices her little finger
Mhm.
for them before they can all go back home. Yeah. Well, do you have any more to add about this story?
Not that moment. I like the story in general since it's about siblings helping each other out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice, right? And no
Mm.
like parents trying to kill them or evil step parents trying to do that or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's just parents making a mistake, but yeah, not nothing malicious or intentional. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I recommend any listeners to go to I'll put the link in the show notes, but to go to the Wiki Commons version of this story of the Seven Ravens, translated by Alice Lucas. Yeah, it has some pretty good pictures there, and I'll put some of those up actually in my version of the telling as well. So you might have already seen that by now. Okay, well, thank you for reading this story with me. It's enjoyable, and maybe we'll choose another one or a myth next time.
mhm.